this event happened last month. I just haven't got to it. I've been busy, but the law that this event was staged for is just come in the last week or two. So I'll do it now, and I'll use the current affairs story because they're always good for some laughs.
Melbourne, again, the backdrop of an alleged evil terror plot. It appears terror in Melbourne is becoming more common.
We have seen a concentration in Melbourne because we have a bigger population, perhaps within the Islamic community within parts of Melbourne.
According to the Bureau of Statistics, 42% of Muslims in Australia live in Greater Sydney and only 31% live in Greater Melbourne. So Sydney has a 25% greater Muslim population than Melbourne. So if it was purely statistics, then say out of 7 terror attacks, 4 would be in Sydney. But of course, the last 7 have all been in Melbourne. In Sydney, you will get your budget terror attacks, the toned down ones, where like the Etihad Airlines one with the meat mixer bomb, apparently, it's all thwarted. And there was another one recently just thwarted that guy got 16 years in jail for. So, but they're just reading a script, and there's no action or anything. They're just, the news readers are just, giving it, and they show a bit of vision of a plane or something. And that's your terror light attacks. They will be staged in Sydney, those events. Whereas, your theatrical public displays of cars burning and cops running around with a knife wielder, and Jimmy G going up, and all that, doing donuts, all that kind of street theatre where the visual, they had that, it was only a small section where the camper van came rolling to a stop as cops got out. All that street theatre, that's staged in Melbourne, because for that, you don't just have to have the media on board and a couple of cops and that. You need a lot more resources to be thrown at it. So that's why it's concentrated in Melbourne. And of course, to stage that kind of theatre, you need to have paid off a lot more of the top brass, all of the politicians. That's the reason why Daniel Andrews has been allowed to get back in again, because he's already been bought and paid for. And moving right along.
The trio was arrested during dawn raids in Melbourne's northern suburbs yesterday. Brothers Samed and Ortunk Eriklioglu and their friend Hanifi Halis are accused of planning to use a semi-automatic gun to commit mass murder in Melbourne's CBD.
They could have planted that they had a gun into this story, but then that would have raised questions as to why hadn't they used it yet and that sort of thing. So they're making out like they're, in this fairy tale, that they've intercepted them before they got the gun. Just, you don't have to write as many lines in the script then.
There's no advice that I've seen as yet as to what the target may have been.
Not naming a specific place where this terrorist act was going to occur in this script also keeps it simple, because they don't have to add lines to the script as to just say it was at a cathedral or something like that. Then they would have to go and speak to the people at the cathedral and talk about security measures. So by not mentioning it, they're just keeping it nice and tight.
Police believe the men had become separated from their community and radicalised, alleged garage jihadis plotting from this garage at one of their homes.
Well, that's a new term the script writers have come up with, and obviously it's going to be used down the track. Garage jihadis.
In the Melbourne suburb of Dallas.
This was their mosque.
Well, a mosque is a recognised place of worship. It just looks like a garage.
It's since been raided by police, but on the ground you can still see dozens of copies of the Quran.
Okay, yeah, well, I didn't know they had these Qurans there. Well, I guess it must be a mosque, although I will point out the books look remarkably brand new, unread, I would say. And this garage, I mean, it's even for a house, this area is remarkably undusty, but for a garage. Now, I'm not saying that all this stuff has been just placed there for this story. Like, this is real. They're not trying to fool us or anything. I would have thought garage, door open and closing, there'd be just a speck of dust. I can't see any.
And candles on the shelves.
Also on the shelf, at least 4 boxes that once held Samsung Galaxy mobile phones.
Oh, yeah, because that's right, terrorists. There's a candle. Yep, there's a candle. You can tell that's being used in in a ceremony. And because terrorists use mobile phones, so that sort of proves it. There's some boxes of Samsung Galaxy, once held phones on the undusty shelf they've got there, and the boxes appear to be remarkably undusty. Right, so there's the copper. Okay, yep, I've seen this before. He's gonna walk past like a boss.
Victoria Police Assistant Commissioner Ross Gunther says officers are now working to analyse 17,000 intercepted phone calls, 10,500 text messages and 7,800 hours of secret recordings in relation to the investigation which led to the trio's arrest.
Well, that's interesting, because you look at the third paragraph from the top, it just said there's no ongoing threat. So there's obviously no one else involved, only these three guys. So let's have a look at those statistics again.
17,000 intercepted phone calls, 10,500 text messages and 7,800 hours of secret recordings.
Confirmed earlier they had at least three Samsung Galaxy phones, but that's a hell of a lot of phone activity just between three guys and three phones. Here's what the police said about, the initiation of their terrorist activities.
Police will allege this incident inspired the three terror suspects to put their plan into action.
Well, that was only 10 days before they were arrested. So when you look at the amount of hours of recording they got, that was only 240 hours ago. So I'm not sure how they squeezed 7,800 hours of recordings. And even if, maybe they started planning it before Sisto and they've got some evidence from that. Well, 7,800 hours divided by 24, that's like about 320-something days. Now that's 24/7. That's if they're on the phone all the time. They've got to sleep, they've got jobs, they've got to eat. Just say they're on the phone, say, 2 hours a day to each other constantly for all these recordings. And these recordings that they managed to get, what about the ones they didn't get? That'd still be like 10 years. In 7,800 hours, they haven't even managed to get the gun yet. What have they been talking about? And I'm lucky to talk for a couple of minutes. What have they been talking about for 7,800 hours? Look, right now, I'm going to declare my availability to, I don't think us truthers, we don't seem to be, alerting the public. And, there's money to be made out of this. Why should I miss out? I'm going to declare myself available to be proofreader for your scripts. Although, give my track record, you might not want me on the inside. But look, the bottom line is, whoever's proofreading your scripts, you got to get rid of them. This is just, 3 Samsung mobile phones, 10,500 phone calls or text messages. There's so many holes in this. Yet they read it out, and the public's just, right then, 7,800 hours of recordings. I'm not going to think any more about that. We're doomed. Speaking of being doomed, here's our resident terror expert.
Terror expert Joe Syracusa is from RMIT University.
We're spending a lot of time and money on trying to de-radicalize people. The truth is, we don't really know who anybody is.
We don't know who anyone is, so all the billions they're spending on surveillance and changing all the laws, it's not going to stop any terrorists. That's a bit of an admission to make. We could just scrap it then. Well, no, they're not, because it's not for terrorists, it's for us.
These guys are just the tip of the iceberg. Melbourne is a large, beautiful, multicultural city with all kinds of sympathizers in it, so we got a lot to worry about.
Living in a beautiful city mean you have nothing to worry about? That can be beautiful if you got a lot to worry about. It's a bit of contradiction from our expert.
I think Melbourne and Sydney would probably tie for the hotbed because they have large, diverse, multicultural communities.
We have seen a concentration in Melbourne.
Melbourne and Sydney would probably tie.
Now, there's a clear contradiction in this very same story, but interestingly enough, I'll probably go with this guy, even though he's such an idiot, because they have tied. It's 0-0 as far as actual terror goes. So, unbeknownst to himself, he's actually got it 100% correct. They do tie.
I don't think they're too bright, but we're about to face people who probably are a lot brighter than that, people who are operational. There are probably at least 60 people who will be coming back from Syria. And look, from the Syrian civil war. And the people who come back will be more sophisticated. They will have more information and expertise about munitions, about bombs and the rest of it.
Well, he knows the number that's coming back. And if they're coming back, shouldn't we know who they are? Oh, no, that's right. Earlier on, he just said, we don't know who anyone is. So he's given a bit of a premonition as to, what we might expect, bombs and some more sophisticated terror. Maybe that's his role in this script.
Thought there was burglary or something. And a big smash. If I came here, maybe they were metal or something big.
Terrorist's mother was screaming from her bed.
I need headscarf date. Nobody give it to me.
This is what I like about ACA. This reminds me of their Bangladeshi 5-foot-high woman attack where they went back to the house and reenacted everything. They're just doing it again here. Here she is laying in the bed, showing us all exactly what happened, because, that makes it believable. Like, oh, I'm on board now. This has got to be real. Then look, third paragraph down there, that's what this was all in preparation for. He mentions that, with encryption, we can't manage to get anything, but they did manage to get 7,800 hours of recording, mysteriously. But anyway, he's mentioned it there as justification, and sure enough, the law came in just, I think it was last week or so. Right, that's it for this one. I'll try and get to this story. He's got a lot of holes in it, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'll try and get to that a bit later on. All right, that's it.